Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Dr.NostalgiaGamer. Today I'm going to be doing episode 3 of my game room tour. I'm going to be going over my SNES as well as my N64 collection. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started. Alright guys, so to start off with, we're going to be doing my SNES collection, of which I have 66 games. I'm just going to do a quick run through, and then I'm going to do a slower run through next, just to show you guys what I've got. So here are my boxed games. Looks like I've got 11 total boxed games. They're, I think, all sports, mostly basketball and football themed. Alright. And then on to my loose stuff, which I'm going to do sort of a quick pan to begin with, and then I'll go back and do a really slow pan later. And just like in the last video where I did a top 10, I'm going to be doing a top 10 of both my SNES and N64 collections. Alright, so that's it for the quick pan. Now let me go through and show it to you guys a little bit slower. Like I said, I've got 66 total games in my SNES collection, and the total value of the entire 66 game collection, including box stuff, is right around $800. Okay, so that was the quick pan of that stuff. Now let's do the slow pan of that stuff. Now let's do a slow pan of my loose stuff, so you guys get a better idea of what I own. A couple of decently valuable games there. Legend of Zelda, Mega Man, Castlevania, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, Super Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, awesome classic, Earthworm Jim's a lot of fun, Star Fox, killer, terrible graphics, but they were awesome for the time, Mortal Kombat, Mario Paint, Batman, Pitfall. Alright, and that's it for the quick overview of the collection. Next, I'm going to be doing the top 10 most valuable. So now I'm going to go through the top 10 most valuable SNES games I own. I'm going to go through them kind of quickly and maybe just talk a little bit about them. First up, we have Sonic Blast Man. This game's decent. It's made by Taito, and this guy's worth it's about $20. Yep. All right. Next up, we have one of the best games ever. Super Mario Kart. Very basic graphical functions. It's sort of honestly, it's less of the normal kind of 3D looking Mario and more of a top-down type of view, but it's still really good though. Really good game, classic game. Honestly, they have the same exact maps in here. On this game, they put the same exact maps on the newer versions as they do in this game. They just look a lot better in the newer games, and they got more depth to them. So Super Mario Kart's worth about $25. And by the way, guys, I'm doing this video as of the last time that I priced these games, which for some of them has been several years. So if my prices are like way off, like way above or way below, keep in mind that it's probably just because of when I actually got these prices. So next up, I have Super Punch Out. It's supposed to be like the more super version of the original Punch Out on the NES. I'm not a big fan of this game. I don't think the graphics are really all that great, and the characters look really cartoony and stupid. They don't look at all like real people, which maybe is why I don't find it that much fun. It's also kind of hard. I feel like the characters are more difficult in this game than they were in the NES version, which is kind of funny because usually the NES is always the harder version. But yeah, so Super Punch-Out's worth about $25 to $30 loose. Next up, I have Super Mario World 2, also known as Yoshi's Island. Really cool cover art to this one. A lot of games don't have that cool of labels, but this one's got a really cool label. Yeah, so this is a really good game. You play as Yoshi, who has Baby Mario on his back. And anybody that's ever played this game knows how annoying it is. So instead of in a normal Mario game, you start off as regular Mario, and you can become Super Mario by getting a power-up. You can grow large by getting the mushroom. In this game, you play as Yoshi, who's carrying Baby Mario around. Well, when Yoshi gets hit, he launches Baby Mario off his back inside of a bubble. And Baby Mario cries, and it's the most annoying baby cry in the world. And he cries the entire time he's in the air. And if you don't get him within a certain amount of time, he floats off into outer space, and Yoshi loses him, and that's when you die. It's not that your character dies, it's that Baby Mario actually gets lost. So when Baby Mario gets lost, that's when the game is over. Yeah, but this is a really fun game. This is actually one of the first ones I think I ever had for the SNES. It's a really fun game. I really like it. This is one of the games that introduced me to the system. This guy is worth about $25 to $30 as well, loose. Next up, we have one of the best games most people would consider to be ever made. Zelda: A Link to the Past. Very good game. I wish, honestly, I had put more time into this game. I honestly have not played it very much, and I'm thinking about maybe doing a run soon where I try to actually go through it and try to beat the game, because I haven't actually played this game with very much depth. A lot of people consider this to be one of the best games ever made in like the history of mankind. I know that, I think it's Billy from the Game Chasers. I know that he considers this to be like, I think he says it is his favorite Zelda game indefinitely, but if it's not just his favorite Zelda game, it's his favorite game of all time. He says it's one of the best. It's got a lot of nostalgia for him, and it's just a really good game. And it really is. It's a great game. Now, I like games more than this one, but it is a really good game. It's well designed. There's a good character plot to it, and it's definitely a good Zelda game. It's a classic in the series. So this guy is worth about $25 to $30 loose. Next up, we've got my one and only Mega Man game, Mega Man X. Unfortunately, I don't own any of the Mega Man games on the NES, and technically it's a lie. I do own more than one Mega Man game, but the other Mega Man game I own is on the Nintendo 3DS. I've got the Mega Man Legends, or whatever it's called, where it's got all the original NES games on it, remastered for the DS, the 3DS. But yeah, so this is my one Mega Man game that I own, and it's a pretty cool game. It's fun. It's fun and it's difficult, but I think that based off of the things that I've seen with the newer Mega Man games, I think I would like those more. But yeah, it's a pretty cool game. It's this is kind of about the time when I think Mega Man was starting to get kind of played out in history. People were starting to get kind of bored of Mega Man. There were too many. I mean, there were 6 Mega Man games alone on the NES, and then there were Game Boy games, and I mean, there was just so many stuff for Mega Man out. But really cool, pretty cool game though, and it's worth about $25 to $30. Next up, we have Super Valis 4, and honestly, I'm blanking about this game. It's made by Atlas. I'm thinking that this was maybe like an RPG game, sort of like a dungeon RPG type game. I really don't remember, and I'm sorry if I'm getting this wrong, but I think it's more of like a dungeon RPG game. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool game though, and it's worth let's see, it's worth about $25 to $30, so it's not the cheapest cartridge to find either. So, but yeah, that's Super Valis 4. Next up is King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Sorry, the Knights of Justice, my bad. Yeah, so this is sort of a rare cartridge. This one's not easy to find. It's sort of a strange kind of game, the way it's designed. I haven't had much time to be able to play this one in depth, but what I have played of it so far, I'm not a big fan of. I actually do have the manual to this game as well, but yeah, so this is a pretty cool little game, and it's decently valuable. It's worth about $30 to $35, which is not cheap for a single SNES cartridge. Next up is actually one of my favorites, honestly. A lot of people don't like this game, but it's a very obscure game, and I really like it. Zombies Ate My Neighbors. This is a game made by Konami. really cool idea behind it. Basically, you play as a kid who wakes up and in a zombie world, and all of his neighbors are trapped in different areas, and they need to be rescued because otherwise they'll get eaten by zombies. And you're running through the zombie world with little handmade kid weapons like high-powered water squirters and like explosive water balloons and things like that. And you're trying to find all of your neighbors, and you just do that in multiple stages. There's lots of different enemies, and it actually has a really cool co-op 2-player mode as well that I would love to be able to do someday with my wife. I'd like to be able to play with her in this game. So yeah, I think it's a really cool game. A lot of people don't like it that much. It's a really obscure game, but I think it's really good, and it's pretty well designed too. This game's worth about $30 to $35. Also not incredibly easy to find, nor is it cheap to buy. And finally is my most valuable game on the SNES, Castlevania 4. Sorry, I should say Super Castlevania 4. So this is the SNES version of Castlevania put out on the system. It is a pretty good game. It's sort of a classic kind of Castlevania style game. Probably one of the better. I think it's a pretty good one. I'm more of a fan of Castlevania on the NES because I like the controls better. On the NES, I liked the simplicity of the button combos on the NES, but the SNES version, this is pretty good, pretty classic Castlevania style game. But yeah, so Castlevania 4 is worth about $40 loose. So yep, pretty cool game. That's my most valuable. Like I said, I've got 66 games total in my collection, and they all come together at about $800. So that was it for the SNES, and now we're going to move on to the N64. Alright guys, so next up is my Nintendo 64 collection. I'm sorry, everybody knows that the way that Nintendo 64 cartridges are designed, they don't have cool end labels, so it's really hard to show them off. So this is how I have them stacked in order to save room. I'll go through really quickly and just kind of give you a general idea of some of the stuff that I've got, but unfortunately I won't be able to do anything major, and I also don't have any boxed games for the N64, so I won't be able to do any like close pans on anything like that. But so for the Nintendo 64, I have a total of 55 games in the collection. They're all loose, and the collection is worth right at about a little bit over $500 for the entire collection. But I'll do a quick sort of just view. Obviously I've got my 2 most valuable and 2 favorites, Ocarina of Time Collector's Edition and Majora's Mask Collector's Edition. And then I've got my stacks of games here. You know, there's Mario Kart. There's lots of cool games in there. Just stacks though. So unfortunately they're really hard to show off. But what I will do is once again I'll go through my top 10 most valuable, and we'll do that next so that I can show you guys a little bit more of what I actually own. Next up is my top 10 most valuable N64 collection. So let's go through that and see what we have. So, first off, we have one that I remember playing as a kid, 007 GoldenEye, made by Rareware. Pretty cool game. Graphics aren't great, controls aren't great, but for me, it's just super nostalgic. I remember sitting, and I'm going to get sappy here, I remember sitting in my dad's lap as a kid and begging him to play me this game. So what would happen is my dad would sit on the floor in front of the TV, and I would sit in between his legs on the floor with my head on his chest, and I would watch him play this game. He would have the controller sitting in front of my face, and he would play this game, and I remember watching him and being just amazed at how cool I thought it was that he was good at this game, and how he was so brave and able to play it and wasn't afraid of the shooters and getting hurt and getting killed and things like that. The N64 is probably one of the systems I have the most nostalgia for, because I literally grew up with it. In my house, it was there. It came around about the same time that I did, and it was there for years and years and years and years. My mom and my dad both played it, and me and my baby sister would both watch as my mom and dad played the games. So there's some extra nostalgia there for me, especially since my baby sister just moved out of the house. So now I've been moved out. My baby sister just moved away, as in like out of state. So there's a lot of nostalgia here for me with the system. But yeah, so anyway, moving on. The 007 GoldenEye is worth about $15. So next up is Yoshi's Story. This is a pretty good game on the system. Nothing super special. You play as Yoshi, and I think there's like multiple colors of Yoshi. That's why there's a pink Yoshi on the front of it. But you play as the different Yoshis, and you're going through and you're trying to save them all, I think is the general idea. You play as different Yoshis. You sort of tag team through it as different colored Yoshis. I think they all do the same thing. They're just different colors to try and make it fun, I guess. But yeah, so pretty good game. This game's worth about $15. Alright, and next up we have Mario Tennis. So in this game, it's actually one of the better tennis games I've probably played. So it's a tennis game. It's pretty, I mean, there's not much you can say about it. It's a tennis game where you play as characters from Nintendo. Mario, Luigi, Donkey Kong, Peach. I believe those are all characters you can play as I remember. It's been a while since I played this game, but I remember that's correct. I believe that's correct. So this guy likely, as well, is also worth $15. Alright, next up is Banjo-Tooie. So this is the second version of Banjo-Kazooie on the system. This, I believe, is actually the one that I remember playing as a kid. I played Banjo-Kazooie as well as a kid, but this was the one I remember playing. This was one of the few games on the N64 I would play as a kid, just because I was I was honestly kind of afraid to play video games back then. Me and my sister both found video games intimidating. We didn't like to die, and it was something about dying that it's almost like it hurt our feelings or something to die. So we were both very careful about playing games. But yeah, so this is just the I mean, there's not really much to say. It's a slightly different storyline. This is just the second version of Banjo-Kazooie, and this guy's worth about $20. And then next up, and this makes sense in the order of things, we have Banjo-Kazooie. We have the original game. And like I said, I remember playing this one as a kid as well. It's a pretty fun little kind of goofy game. You play as a bear who has a bird on his back, and you play as Banjo, who is the bear, and then you've got Kazooie, who's the bird on your back. You walk around, and you guys work as a team to make it through different levels and stuff, and to fight off enemies. It's a pretty cool little kind of cutesy, kind of cartoony game. But yeah, so and I remember playing this one. I remember playing this one as a kid. So this guy's worth about $20. Next up, we have Zelda Ocarina of Time. This is the regular version. This is the gray cart version. This is not the collector's edition. That's why this one comes next in the series. This is probably one of my favorite games of all time, honestly. This one has an extremely large amount of nostalgia for me. Now, not this one in particular, because this is the gray cart version, but this game has a lot of nostalgia for me. So the gray cart version of Ocarina of Time goes for about $25. And then next up, we have Super Mario 64. This game I also remember playing as a kid. This was one that I wasn't as afraid to play because it was much more cartoony and fun, but I do remember my mom kind of got me introduced to this game. This is a lot of fun. I really like it. A lot of people didn't like the 64 version because it was sort of a three-dimensional, but I really liked the game. Of course, I kind of grew up with it, so it was cool to me, but I will admit I do like the 2D Marios more than I do the 3D, but it's still a really fun game, and I think it had lots of fun playing. I wish the graphics were just a little bit better, but yeah, it's a really fun game as well. And this guy's also worth about $25. Next up is probably one of my favorites on the N64, and that is Mario Kart 64. This is a really fun game, more of a three-dimensional style of the Mario Karts. Really fun, probably one of the better ones, honestly, that came out on the 64. Good game, lots of fun, lots of good memories with this game as well. This guy's worth about $30. Next up, we have, this is the big one for me, the gold version of Ocarina of Time. This was the gold card version. This is actually the exact same copy that I had as a kid about a little bit over 20 years ago. This was the copy that me and my mom played when I was a kid. This game is worth about $40 to $45, and in the loose condition, the gold card is the special collector's edition. This game is a lot of fun. I loved this game so much. Me and my little sister would sit at the kitchen table probably at least once a day for a couple hours a day, watching my mom play this game. We begged her and begged her and begged her to let us watch her play this game. She loved it. She actually bought a strategy guide for this game because it is so immersed, and she wanted to make sure she didn't miss anything. And she wore the pages out, literally. The strategy guide was used so much that she had memorized the entire game. And to this day, my mom can pick up this game. You know, my mom in her mid-50s can pick up this game and probably play it all the way through, get every gold scatola, beat every boss, and remember what she needs to do, and do it in a logical order that makes the game easy to play. defeat Ganon at the end, Ganon and Ganondorf at the end. I mean, I'm telling you, she was addicted to this game, loved it, played it probably a dozen times all the way through, memorized the strategy guide, used it so much the pages became tattered and worn. We actually had to throw the book away, unfortunately. But yeah, so I mean, she absolutely adored this game, and we loved watching her play. So this one has a lot of nostalgia for me. But like I said, this guy's worth about $40 to $45, the gold version. And then next up, and finally on my list of N64 stuff, is Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. So this guy pretty much ties with Ocarina of Time, but it tends to be a little bit more valuable because it's unlike Ocarina of Time, which is the one that like literally everyone had. This game wasn't as well received for good reason. It was very different. A lot of people didn't like it. I'm personally not a huge fan of it at all. I've been told that the reason why I'm not a huge fan of it is just because I don't know how to play it. But I've been told that once you really get used to the timing strategy of the game and the new kind of controls and styles, the wearing the masks and things like that, the game becomes a lot of fun. You just have to really get used to it. But yeah, so Majora's Mask. This was another one that I used to watch my mom play as a kid, but I didn't like this game nearly as much, and neither did my mom. We also bought a strategy guide for this one, which wasn't nearly as worn out as the Zelda one. And actually, I still own the strategy guide. It's a cool game, and it's fun, but it's just not as much fun, nor is it as nostalgic for me as Ocarina of Time. But yeah, so this guy's worth about $45.